Hey, welcome back. So, your phone. You bought it? It was fast, snappy. Apps opened in a blink. The camera was great, life was good, and then, somewhere around the 1 year mark, something shifted. Maybe it was subtle at first. A half-second lag here, the keyboard stuttering mid-sentence there. And now, 2 years in, your phone feels like it's moving through mud. You start wondering, is it broken? Did I fill it up with too many photos? Or is the company literally making it slow on purpose so you'll buy a new one? Spoiler, the answer is a lot more interesting than any of those. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly what is happening inside your phone and why it's actually kind of fascinating. Let's get into it. Before we get into the why, we need to get one thing straight. What does fast even mean when we're talking about a phone? Think of it like this. Your phone is a city, and the roads in that city are your hardware, your processor, your RAM, your storage. When you bought your phone, those roads were brand new, wide, smooth, freshly built. Traffic flowed perfectly. But here's the thing, the roads don't change. Your hardware on day one is the exact same hardware on day 730. The processor doesn't get slower, the RAM doesn't shrink. So if the roads are the same, why does the traffic feel so much worse? Because the city grew around them. The apps got bigger, the operating system got heavier. The expectations of what your phone needs to do every second went up. That's the core insight. Your phone isn't getting slower. It just has a lot more to do. But let's go deeper than that, because there are actually 4 specific things happening, and each one is worth understanding on its own. Reason number 1, software bloat. When your phone shipped, it came with an operating system, iOS or Android, that was designed and optimized for the hardware it was running on. Everything fit perfectly. The software was lean and your processor barely had to break a sweat. But then the updates started. Every major iOS or Android update brings new features, new animations, new security layers, new background processes. And here's what they don't tell you. Those updates are designed and tested on the newest hardware, not yours. Think about that for a second. The team building iOS 18 is testing it on an iPhone 15, not an iPhone 12. The animations are smooth on their test devices. The performance is fine, so it ships. You install it on your 3-year-old phone and suddenly everything feels heavier. Because it is heavier. Let's put some real numbers to this. The original Android 1.0 back in 2008 required about 256 megabytes of RAM to run. Android 14 recommends at least 2 gigabytes just to run smoothly. That's an 8 times increase in memory appetite in 15 years. And it's not just the OS. The apps do the exact same thing. WhatsApp from 2015 was maybe 20 megabytes. Today's version is well over 100. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Every update adds more features, more background tracking, more caching, and more CPU demands. Your phone's hardware is fixed. The software's appetite is not. That's bloat. Reason number 2, thermal throttling. And this one might genuinely surprise you. Your phone is deliberately slowing itself down, not because a company told it to, because physics did. Here's what's happening under the hood. And I promise this is simpler than it sounds. Your processor generates heat every time it works. The faster it works, the more heat it generates. And if a chip gets too hot, it can damage itself, drain your battery catastrophically, or worse. So every phone processor has a built-in protection system called thermal throttling. When the chip temperature hits a certain threshold, the phone automatically reduces the processor's speed to bring the temperature down. This happens in every phone, every brand, every price range. It's not a flaw, it's a safety feature. But here's why it feels worse over time. A brand new phone has a fresh battery and a clean thermal system. It can run at full speed for longer before it needs to throttle. As the phone ages, the battery degrades, the thermal paste between components dries out slightly, and the processor reaches that throttling temperature faster. Translation: your phone starts hitting the speed limit more often the older it gets. You'll notice this most when doing demanding things: gaming, recording video, running navigation while streaming music. Open a bunch of apps at once and feel your phone get warm. That's your processor sprinting, hitting the heat limit, and then backing off. The physics hasn't changed. Your chip has just got less headroom to work with. Reason 3 is one that caused an actual scandal, and it's about your battery. Here's the thing about lithium-ion batteries: the chemistry inside every phone, laptop, and electric car on the planet. They don't last forever. Every time you charge your phone, you complete what's called a charge cycle. And with each cycle, the battery loses a tiny fraction of its ability to hold a full charge. After about 500 complete charge cycles, which for most people is roughly 1.5 to 2 years of normal use, your battery is typically holding somewhere around 80% of its original capacity. Less capacity means less power delivery, and a processor that isn't getting a steady, full-voltage power supply has to be more careful about how hard it pushes itself. Your phone's brain is essentially running on a weaker fuel supply. Now, this brings us to the most controversial moment in recent phone history. In 2017, Apple confirmed that they had been deliberately limiting the performance of older iPhones with degraded batteries. The stated reason was to prevent unexpected shutdowns because a weakened battery can't handle a sudden peak power demand and the phone crashes. Apple's solution was to smooth out those peaks by capping the processor speed. The backlash was enormous. People called it planned obsolescence. Apple called it battery management. The truth is somewhere in between. The intention was arguably protective, but the fact that they did it silently, without telling anyone, destroyed trust. Apple was sued, paid $500 million in a settlement, and added a battery health page to iOS so you can see your battery's condition at any time. Go to Settings, Battery Health. If you're below 80%, your phone is almost certainly being throttled. Android handles this differently. It's less centralized, but the underlying physics is identical. A degraded battery means a processor that has to play it safe. Reason 4, and this is the one you actually have some control over: storage and RAM management. Let's start with storage. Your phone's internal storage works best when it has breathing room. Think of it like a desk. When your desk is clear, you can find things instantly, spread out your work, get things done. When it's covered in paper, everything takes longer. When your phone's storage gets above roughly 80 to 85% full, performance starts to degrade noticeably. The operating system needs temporary space to process photos, cache app data, create swap files. When there's no room, it has to shuffle things around constantly, and that shuffling takes time you feel as lag. Now for RAM. Your phone's RAM is the short-term memory. It's where apps live when they're open or recently used. It allows you to switch between apps instantly without reloading them. But here's the problem. Apps today are far more memory hungry than they were when your phone launched. The apps running in 2024 were designed for 2024 hardware with more RAM. On an older phone with the same amount of physical RAM, the operating system has to constantly decide which apps to evict from memory to make room for new ones. So when you switch back to an app you used 5 minutes ago, instead of resuming instantly, your phone is essentially reloading it from scratch every single time. That reload pause, that's not your processor being slow. That's your RAM being full. And there's one more thing worth knowing: fragmentation. Over months and years of installing, uninstalling, and updating apps, your phone's storage becomes fragmented, scattered in tiny chunks across the drive rather than neatly organized. The phone has to work harder to piece data together. Newer phones with better storage chips handle this more gracefully, but it still adds up. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Is any of this deliberate? Are phone companies intentionally making your old phone slow so you'll buy a new one? Here's my honest take. The technical reasons we just covered, software bloat, thermal throttling, battery degradation, storage management, these are all real engineering problems, not conspiracies. But are companies making choices that accelerate these problems? Yes, absolutely. When Apple or Google decides to support a device for only 5 or 6 years of software updates and then stops, and those updates keep coming with increasing hardware demands, that's a choice. When manufacturers make batteries that are nearly impossible to replace yourself, that's a choice. When phone companies offer trade-in deals timed perfectly to when your battery starts struggling, that's not a coincidence. The hardware limits are real. The business decisions around them are, let's call them convenient. The good news is you can fight back on the software side. Here's what actually works. 1. Check your battery health right now. On iPhone, Settings Arrow Battery. Arrow Battery Health. Below 80% and your phone is being throttled. A battery replacement costs around £50 to $60 and will make your phone feel brand new. It's genuinely the highest value upgrade you can make. 2. Clear your storage. Delete apps you haven't opened in 6 months. Move photos to Google Photos or iCloud. You want to keep at least 15 to 20% of your storage free at all times. 3. Be selective about updates. Major OS updates on older devices often hurt more than they help. Before updating, search your specific phone model plus the update name and see what other users are reporting. Don't be the first to install on older hardware. 4. Restart your phone once a week. Seriously. It clears RAM, flushes temporary files, and gives the system a clean slate. It takes 30 seconds, and most people never do it. 5. If your phone is more than 2 years old and starting to really struggle, a battery replacement before buying anything new is almost always worth it. You might be surprised how much life is still in that hardware. So there you have it. Your phone isn't broken, it isn't being sabotaged. It's a piece of hardware that was built at a moment in time, running software that never stopped evolving. Software bloat, thermal throttling, battery degradation, storage and RAM pressure. 4 real explainable reasons, and now you understand exactly what's happening every time your phone hiccups. And honestly, the fact that these tiny slabs of glass and silicon manage to run for 2, 3, 4 years under all of that pressure is kind of remarkable when you think about it. It's a genuinely fascinating time to understand how the technology in your pocket actually works. If this helped, smash that like button and subscribe to Bit by Byte. We break down exactly this kind of thing every single week. And drop a comment below. How old is your phone and can you feel the slowdown? I'm curious. I'll see you in the next one.